Vanguard. You know, the name itself just sounds safe, like a promise to protect your money. And for 50 million people, it's pretty much the bedrock of their financial future. But what if I told you that behind this fortress of trust, there's a hidden battle raging? A fight that could seriously change the future of your investments. Today, we're going behind the curtain to uncover what we're calling the Vanguard Paradox. Let's dig in. And right here, this is the central clue in our whole investigation. See, the entire Vanguard legend is built on this one really powerful idea, that you, the investor, are the owner. It's a brilliant concept, right? It's supposed to perfectly align their interests with yours. But is that what's really going on? Or is it just the most successful marketing slogan in financial history? That's what we're here to find out. Okay, to really get what's at stake here, you have to follow the money. And there is a lot of it. We're talking about $6 trillion. And get this, that's not their total assets. Nope, that's just their stake in the US stock market alone. With that kind of cash, you're not just some passive investor. You're basically a kingmaker. You hold the power to shape corporate America. And that power, well, that's at the very heart of this story. To solve this mystery, we have to start with the official story, the legend of Vanguard. This is the foundation of their entire reputation, the narrative that got 50 million people to hand over their futures. And this right here is the cornerstone of that legend. The structure, I mean, on paper, it's a thing of beauty. By making investors the owners, they claim to have solved the biggest problem on Wall Street: greed. No outside shareholders demanding a bigger cut. Every single penny they save is supposed to go right back to you. It's the perfect story. A little too perfect, maybe. Let's keep digging. And they built this whole empire on 4 simple, powerful rules. Set your goals, stay balanced, keep your costs as low as possible, and be disciplined. It's just sensible, no-nonsense advice. It's what made them feel less like a Wall Street predator and more like this wise, trustworthy guide for the average person. This is the company that everyone thinks they know. But here's where that official story really starts to fall apart. Because when we looked closer, we found the first cracks in the facade. And the evidence? It's coming from the most unlikely place you could imagine, the so-called owners themselves. So let's start with Exhibit A, the official promise. This is straight from their website. Highest standards, focus on our clients' needs. These are the words of a company that claims to put its customers on a pedestal. Now, keep those words in your mind, because what we found next is, well, it's pretty shocking. Now, just listen to this. This is Exhibit B, a real review from a Vanguard owner. 5 years. She spent 5 years trying to settle the affairs of a loved one who had passed away and was just met with a total wall of silence. Now you tell me, does that sound like a company focused on its clients' needs? It's a heartbreaking story, and believe me, it is not an isolated one. And this isn't just about a few disgruntled customers. This, right here, is the smoking gun. We analyzed the data from Trustpilot, and the numbers are just damning. 84% of reviews are 1 star. That's not a crack in the foundation, that is a full-blown rebellion. How does a company that is supposedly owned by its customers get it so wrong? But, bad customer service is really just the tip of the iceberg. The real story here is much, much bigger, and it's all about power. Hidden power. This is where our investigation goes from individual complaints to a threat that could shake the entire financial system. It's called the common ownership problem, and it's one of the biggest open secrets on Wall Street. The official line is that Vanguard is just a passive investor, quietly holding stocks for you. But the reality? When you are the biggest shareholder in nearly every major company, your quiet presence is a total myth. You're the puppet master, whether you want to admit it or not. And guess what? The authorities are finally starting to notice. The walls are closing in. The FDIC is investigating. States are suing them for antitrust violations. They've even been forced to back down from major climate initiatives because of all the political heat. The quiet giant is being dragged into the spotlight, and it's not a pretty picture. So how does a giant like Vanguard respond when the heat is on? With a very clever PR move, of course. It's called the Investor Choice Program. They're basically saying, hey, don't look at us. We're giving the power back to you. It sounds great, doesn't it? But is it a real solution, or is it just a smokescreen to keep the regulators off their back? So just as this huge battle over passive power is heating up, our investigation uncovered a major plot twist. a fundamental shift in strategy that suggests Vanguard might be changing its very identity from the inside out and playing a completely new and much riskier game. Enter the new CEO, Salim Ramji. He comes in with this calm message. Don't worry, everyone. We'll always do things the Vanguard way. A reassuring promise from the new guy in charge, but as we're about to see, his first big move seems to break that promise in the most spectacular way possible. Because here it is, Vanguard has announced a major partnership with Blackstone, one of the biggest names in private equity. The plan is to sell exclusive, high-fee, not-so-transparent private funds to their wealthiest clients. And you just have to ask yourself, is that really the Vanguard way? This table just lays out the evidence, and it is damning. The company is literally at war with itself. On one side, you have the original mission, serving the average investor. On the other, a new exclusive club just for millionaires. Lowest possible fees versus high fees. Simple and accessible versus complex and exclusive. This isn't just some new product. For many, it feels like a betrayal of everything Vanguard claimed to stand for. So after following all the evidence, from the customer revolt to the hidden power and this shocking plot twist, we've reached our verdict. Vanguard is not the company you think it is. It is a company caught in a tangled web of contradictions. This is the Vanguard Paradox. These are the three core tensions that really define the paradox. Is it actually owned by its investors, or is it just controlled by a handful of executives in a boardroom? Is it a champion for the little guy, or is it becoming a playground for the rich? And can it truly be a passive investor when it's become one of the most powerful and unaccountable forces in the global economy? And this all brings us to the final unsettling question. The company that was created to serve you, the owner, is now at a massive crossroads. As it looks to the future, it has to make a choice. Will it be the company that serves its 50 million owners? Or has the giant grown into a monster that now only serves itself? The answer to that question will determine the future of your money, and that's something we should all be watching very closely.